Hi everyone, welcome back to Young and Wifed Up. This is Marcella.
And I'm Gabby.
And thanks for joining us this week for another episode.
Before we get into today's episode, I would like to ask if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or any other podcasting app that allows you to rate and review. We would love if you could take a moment of your time to give us a rating and a review. That would be such a big help to us. It is absolutely free, and it's a great way that you can support our podcast.
Some other ways that you can support us is also by joining our Facebook group, which is also obviously free, but it's a good way to get plugged into the Young and Wifed Up community. And also another way to support us is by becoming a patron on our Patreon. And our episodes are essentially brought to you by our Patreon subscribers. The financial support helps to keep our lights on and to obviously cover the time that we take to record and for all of the post-production stuff, all of the work that Gabriella and Ryan put into editing, uploading, getting all the links for you guys, all of that stuff. It takes time, and we are super grateful for everybody over on our Patreon, and we encourage any of you who are not there to go join over there too. And it's not just you're supporting the content that you see on your regular public platforms. You also get tons of exclusive content, lots of posts, episodes that are private and only for the Patreon group. So if you're interested in hearing more from us, that is a good place to go.
Awesome. I want to make a note really quick that if you're watching on YouTube and you're wondering what's going on with Marcella's video, her Wi-Fi can be going in and out, but her audio is crystal clear, thankfully. So there could be that there's just a connection issue because there's bad weather. There's actually bad weather coming to her, and we over here in Nevada have been experiencing really crazy weather. So we apologize for the quality of the video content for all 10 of you guys that watch, but the rest of you will not be affected at all. Cool. So I'm so excited about today's episode. We've done something like this before. We did homemaking in the 1950s. That was such a fun episode, and it's actually one of our top 10 most listened to episodes. So a lot of you guys have found us through looking for 1950s housewife content. So that was a really fun one we did, I think like season 3. It was definitely early
a while
on.
ago.
Yeah. So today we're going to go back even further, and we're going to go all the way back to 1910. We are going to look at some early 1900s homemaking advice, and we're going to be reading from a book called 1001 Household Hints. And this book was published in 1910 and written by a woman named Ottilie Victoria Ames. We don't know much about her. I actually searched high and low, and I was even asking my AI assistants to help me figure out who this person is. And there is literally nothing else about her out there on the internet besides the fact that she authored this book. So I'm assuming, and I'm just going to make some assumptions, that she is just a regular housewife homemaker that wanted to make a book for other homemakers, and we appreciate it. So other things I know about her that I was able to find is how old she was when this book was published. She was born in 1867, which made her the age of 43 when this book was published. And because of her age and the 1001 hints that she gives us, I'm assuming that she is an experienced homemaker that wanted to share her knowledge of home economics with others. So you can find this book in the public domain on the Internet Archive website. And I'll go ahead and chuck this link for our patrons, that they get all of our links that we talk about, all the resources, but it's also easily searchable. if you find the book 1001 Household Hints, again by Ottilie Victoria Ames. We are both going to be sharing some favorites from this book. We will share some hints that we think are very cool, hints that we think are timeless, that we still do today, and some hints that we think are either outdated or crazy, which is honestly my favorite part about going back in time. We did this when we were doing our 1950s episode, talking about some of the crazy things that they did that we would never think to do now. So, a lot of fun stuff. I honestly found I was having a hard time finding things that I didn't think were actually just great advice.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
So, and there were some things that were a little bit weird, which I'll bring up those things, but I don't know, maybe somebody out there is doing this. So I don't want to yuck anybody's yum. I mean, if it works for you.
Yeah.
But some of the things that I picked that are like my eek things, you know, it's not like it was crazy or unsafe, but there is one thing, and maybe you'll see this too, Marcella. Some of the cleaning products that they recommend using, like kerosene.
Yes. Okay, that was one thing that was kind of strange. I was like, okay, is the equivalent to kerosene oil like olive oil?
See, I
Because
don't
you can
know.
make essentially like oil lamps out of olive oil.
Right, or like was
So
it
I wonder
canola oil or like
what
what?
was it? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I can't
Yeah.
remember, maybe you remember when seed oils were becoming industrialized. So I don't know if that was already happening at that time. I don't know.
Mm,
I don't know, maybe not that early actually, now that I think about it, because a lot of the history that I've read about um the seed oils and their production is that it was later on in the 1900s. So, but
mm,
they were originally being used as just regular gas to power machines. And so it's very possible that this kerosene was just like an OG seed oil that hadn't been bleached and deodorized.
yeah, who knows?
And there was another cleaning agent, and I don't have the book open in front of me. I just have the hints that I picked. Maybe it'll pop up on your end. But there was another cleaning agent that I saw that I was like, oh, wow, like this is like a known carcinogen. I don't know if you've seen it yourself. It'll come up. It'll come up. So we're going to just hop right into it. So I'm going to read directly from most of it. I'll read just directly the direct quotes. And again, you guys can see for yourself. So you can fact check us that Ottilie definitely knows a lot about homemaking and housekeeping. And so let's jump straight into it. So the first one, and each one has like a header, like a title, because all 1001 household hints, I think she like puts 5 or 6 hints on each page, depending on how long her household hint was. So it's not like 1001 chapters. It's just little summaries and little phrases that she gives. So the first one, which I thought was great advice, is called When Work Becomes Monotonous. When work becomes monotonous, try another room when that is possible and see what a pleasant effect a change of scene may produce. In most cases, the work will seem to be easier. When darning a lot of stockings or hemming many yards of material by hand, try this plan. And I think the overall principle that I got from this is that, like, if you're becoming overwhelmed or when something is seeming like boring or monotonous, it can be good to have a change of pace to either refocus on another part of homemaking or another room of the house
Mhm.
or trying something new. Like she gives the example of darning and which is mending stockings or hemming many yards of material. And those are like really monotonous, small motor skills things that you can take a break from that for a moment and focus on something else. And that can give you a fresh outlook. So I thought that was a really great one. And then the next one I have is uses for an old sheet. And this, I like this one because she actually has a couple of these. She even gives uses for a satin umbrella that is broken. She gives uses for old towels or old, like she wants you to become thrifty with the things that you have and use things up. So she gives 6 different tricks for using an old sheet. The first one is, and she gives different materials. So this one's for twill sheets. Old twill sheets, by reason of their softness, make fine polishing cloths, floor and dishcloths, strong dusters, and good undercovers for ironing boards. Number 2, old cotton sheets make roomy bags for enclosing the winter suits and coats in the wardrobe. One large sheet will make 2 cases. Number 3, an old sheet can be made for slips for pillows over the ticking. I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means? Over the ticking?
Say the first part again?
Pillow. Okay, so it says an old sheet can be made for slips for pillows over the ticking. So I don't know if it's just like a pillow cover, if
No.
that's what she's saying.
I don't know.
She also says to cover mattresses, laundry bags, and large aprons to wear when making beds. Number 4, on sweeping days, old sheets are invaluable in covering furniture, which I've seen so many old movies or old shows when they go away for a while, like they go on holiday, all of the servants
Mhm.
cover all of the furniture with old sheets. And it says smaller pieces can be made into loose covers to enclose dainty cushions. Number 5, soft old pieces may be cut to measure and devoted to baby's wear. So turning old sheets that are obviously still clean into baby's clothes. And then it says long strips may be rolled up and used when bandages are needed. Great idea. And a wide strip to make an outer cover for an ironing board. Another great idea. So she assumes that the housewife is also a seamstress, which I think is a lost art. I mean, it's an art that did not get passed down to me because I don't do anything like that outside of some fun hand embroidering. But anything practical, I can do basic mending. I know how to do a ladder stitch, and that's basically the stitch that I rely on to do all my mending. But a lot of her homemaking advice, especially when she's talking about home decor and linens and laundry, there's a lot of tips on ways to mend things. And she assumes that you already have a basic knowledge of mending and darning and stuff. And
Mhm.
then let's see. Oh, she says pretty bits of decorative work may be evolved that have bits of old linen sheets for foundations. So she gave 6 different uses for an old sheet. And I love the reduce, reuse, recycle vibes in this household hint that
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
very sustainable. We love a sustainable queen. And obviously back then, like it's not, this was just normal. Everybody was using their things until they were completely unusable and then using
Yeah.
them for different things. Like it wasn't all just for one purpose. They were being reused, they were being repurposed for different things. And I think that's a lost art that we can definitely do. Okay, my next one is testing eggs. And this is particular to farm eggs. And she's assuming that you have access to farm eggs. I'm sure this was before most eggs were being purchased at the grocery store, and you either had a farmer or you had a friend or you had chickens yourself. And so this is a trick that I learned the first time I ever got farm fresh eggs. The person that I purchased them from told me that, well, first you don't wash them. You don't wash them until you're ready to use them because the outer layer of the egg is actually what preserves them and they could stay on the counter for a long time. So the trick is, and this is what she says, to have a pan of water sufficient to cover the eggs, then put them into it. Those sinking to the bottom are strictly fresh, and those standing, the ones that haven't sunk, so the ones that are floating, are not fresh. And that has saved me so many times if I ever have like eggs, farm fresh eggs that have been out for a while and I'm not necessarily sure if they're good or not. And I don't want to like play a game of cracking it into my recipe and wondering if it's good or not. So
Yeah.
whenever that happens, I do the water trick and it is definitely timeless. It definitely works. But I'll tell a funny story really quick. I remembered this trick, and our friends had parents that had ducks, and they gave us a dozen duck eggs. And I told Ryan, because he was cooking for me. I think I was in a flare up at the time. This was several years ago. And I told Ryan to do the trick. And I told him, okay, like, if they're fresh, they sink. And if they're not fresh, then they'll float. But I actually told him the opposite thing because I remembered it wrong. And he was like, oh my goodness, like you will not believe it. Literally, almost all the eggs they sunk to the bottom. And there was only 2 or 3 eggs that floated. And I was like, oh no. And so I was like, well, you got to throw away all those eggs that sunk to the bottom. And then we ate, he cooked and we ate the 3 bad duck eggs. And we threw away all the fresh ones, the ones that were still good. So
So you guys had it flip-flopped?
yes. And I knew because as I was eating the eggs, I was like, this doesn't taste right. Like, it doesn't taste right. Something's wrong. And at
Yeah.
first, I was like, maybe I'm just like not used to duck eggs. But no, it's because they were bad. They were rotten eggs, and we ate the rotten eggs. And so, anyway,
Yeah.
so then after that, I remembered, and now I will never forget that they sink to the bottom if they're fresh, and they float if they're not well. Okay, moving forward. Her next tip is to have a few toys for little visitors to play with. She says, these toys should be kept in the household where there are no children, yet where children are likely to be taken by their mothers when calling. Even a doll or a horse will amuse the little girl or a little boy for a long time and allow the older people to enjoy themselves. So nobody really told me to do this. Maybe it was just when you had Seth and we were babysitting Seth a lot. Seth was at our house a lot, your oldest.
Yeah, so you
And I
naturally just started accumulating.
collecting. Yeah, I started
Yeah.
accumulating, and now I had a small little box with toys, and then we had all of our friends started having kids. And so then whenever they would come to our house, we always had a little box of toys. And now the box has graduated into a taller basket that I keep downstairs in the living room. And I have some other things. I have like coloring books and stuff like that I keep elsewhere. But as far as like the basket of toys, that has always been in our living room and it's kind of evolved over the years. And I do think that it's good advice that even if you do not have your own children at home, if you have friends that come over and they have their own children, it is a blessing to them to have that in your house so that they don't always have to rely on bringing their own toys. And one thing that's interesting is that a lot of the toys that I have were more like toddler to like maybe preschool toys because that was kind of the age group that we were around a lot. But now a lot of our friends are graduating out of that into like the young school aged kids. And so now I'm like, oh, I feel like I need to like expand my collection a little bit, maybe just have a box of magnet tiles or something that, is for older children, because most of the stuff that I currently have is for toddlers and babies, because that's when I was first collecting all these toys. Okay, this is one that I was unsure about. And maybe you can tell me, Marcel, if you think that if you think this is as weird as I think it is. Otillie advises us to use milk and cream for cleaning purposes. And these are the purposes she gives. She says using milk and cream can clean piano keys beautifully. She said it will take all the decolorations from a mirror and picture frame. She said it will take out ink spots of long standing, so a set in, well established ink spot. She said used in starch will give a gloss like that obtained in laundry. Interesting. And then she said it's also used in bluing for lace curtains. So if like your linens are turning yellow, they would there she talks about bluing a lot in this book because they were making these solutions to make linens that are white more white. And so she's saying to use the milk and cream for the bluing. I don't know. It's crazy to me. Maybe it's because I've never seen anybody ever, not even online, clean with milk or cream. But maybe, I don't know, maybe she's onto something. Is this something you would ever do, Marcel, if you had an abundance of raw milk from the Amish farm and you were like, oh, Otillie said that it can help me get the decolorations from the picture frames that I got at the antique shop.
I will have to do some experimenting. I wonder if it has something to do with like the pH level, like the
Mhm.
acidity maybe of the I honestly don't even know why, like the science behind why that would even work, but I'd be willing to try it like on some laundry stains. I can already think of things that have like bad ink stains that I could probably test it on.
I need somebody to do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have something you could test it on, I would really she's saying it will take out ink spots of long standing. Like
Mm,
she's very confident it's gonna work. So
mm,
I don't know, you're gonna have to get back to me. Okay, I'm
very
halfway through.
interesting.
This is an interesting thing that I think is outdated because we don't have an ice guy. So she says to measure your ice. If you are in doubt whether your ice dealer gives you the full weight when you receive ice, use your tape measure. A 50-pound block should be 15 inches long, 10 inches deep, and 10 inches broad. So she's like, don't get swindled out there, girlfriend. When your ice dealer comes to your house, you get your tape measure
Well,
out. Make sure that he's not cheating you out of your ice. Your ice better be, and she gives the exact measurements. So I thought that was funny. Um, okay. Okay, this one I thought was so fun. It says, when washing dishes, tuck a newspaper in front on your apron and have an old pair of stockings, like for, your legs, to pull over your sleeves and it will help keep you neat. So I was trying to envision this and I still like can't wrap around my head around
I
how this would
I
work.
think it's stockings with the bottoms cut out.
So okay, so yes, but the newspaper thing.
Oh, like tucked into your apron?
It says tuck a newspaper in front on your apron. So I'm like,
Maybe it's
where
I mean, it's just to catch the water though, right?
in my pockets? Where am I tucking it? Is she
Oh, up
talking about
here.
like,
Like up here.
okay,
Like a
okay,
bib?
if you're
Like a
doing
newspaper bib?
dishes and you have, why is the water going up there unless she's talking about like a half apron where it's just the skirt part? That makes more sense, right?
Maybe?
But then, okay, so this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm envisioning. If I'm wearing a skirt apron and I have it tied around my waist, and then I tuck a newspaper in front, and I'm assuming the newspaper, the way it would be angled, it's almost like creating a funnel to my clothes where
Yeah,
the water
maybe.
is running down.
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe not.
I wish that she would have provided an illustration. Okay? That's how I feel about that.
Yeah, I do
This
kinda wish there were, like, a few pictures in here, you know?
Yeah, I'm like, you couldn't get, what's another old, you couldn't get Ethel, your sister, to draw, some crude little images of like this whole, some of these, especially that one, especially the newspaper situation. Like, I can
Yeah,
understand maybe, putting the stockings on your arms. But even that, I'm like, or you wear clothes that you don't mind getting wet. I don't know. Okay, so next. This was my favorite one as far as like how crazy it is to me. She said, if your hands are rough, it is hard to embroider if your hands are rough, as most women know. She says that, which is so funny. As most women know, it's so hard to embroider if your hands are rough. She said, let them try rubbing the hands with the finest sandpaper, and they will find that embroidery silks will not stick to the fingers. So Otillie wants us to get some sandpaper and to sand our hands down to a nice, smooth, embroidery ready surface. And at first I was really shocked by this, but then I remember, I don't know if you've ever seen this TikTok, Marcella,
Uh,
this TikTok where this lady's getting a pedicure and the guy that's giving her a pedicure takes out a literal sander, like an electric sander to
yes.
do her
Yeah,
feet.
I have seen it.
It's insane. I'm like, I don't think that's the same thing as like the other things that, the official pedicure. I don't even know what that is, but certainly not an industrial scene. Okay, so yeah, I definitely don't recommend sanding your hands down if they're rough. Maybe some tallow. Okay, this one kind of I felt attacked by this one personally. She said she gives advice for those of us with double chins. She says stretching exercises of the throat and neck will reduce a double chin permanently. She's so confident. Hold the chin as far up as it will go, and with your fingertip, massage it with a downward motion. Pushing the lower jaw in and out is also good. Once or twice a week is often enough for this heroic treatment. She's calling it heroic. Um, so this is what I think. These are my thoughts. First, I'm attacked. Otillie. Otillie, how dare you tell me
I just
that
wanna know I just wanna know what getting rid of your double chin has to do with homemaking.
I don't know, but she's worried about it. So enough people, you know what is timeless? Body dysmorphia.
Wow.
You know, they were just as worried about their double chins then as we are now. You know,
Yeah.
these are the
Wow,
women
yeah.
that
So true.
invented the chin strap. They're like, so, this is what I take from it. I think she's recommending you do a little lymphatic work. In our day, this would be like a little gua sha, facial massage. And, it does kind of get rid of some of the inflammation, some of the lymphatic, build up, and you can just drain it. But girls, I've been doing those things for years and I still am rocking a double chin. So, and Otillie's saying only to do it once or twice a week. So I'm like, girl, I was doing it every day, like every day. And I'm just a big girl. It's okay, Otillie. Like, it's okay, you know?
It's okay.
Anyway, so I feel attacked. Okay. This was okay. This was like my favorite one, which I loved a lot of these, and it was very hard to narrow down. But her very, very last tip at the end was for sleepiness, for sleeplessness. Sorry, not sleepiness. To those who suffer from sleeplessness. Wow, why is that such a hard word for me to say? Sleeplessness. You know why? Because I didn't sleep last night. So I'm having a hard time right now. She recommends to repeat the first two verses of Psalm 127. She says to repeat slowly and thoughtfully, and I'll read it for you guys because it's very precious and I think it's great advice. She said, "Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. It is vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, to eat the bread of sorrows. For so he giveth his beloved sleep." And she says to repeat it slowly and thoughtfully if you're having trouble sleeping. And I think it's good advice anyway to recite verses when you're sleeping, when you're struggling with sleeplessness. When you're sleeping, that'd be so funny. It's good to memorize verses when you're sleeping. You know what I used to do when I was a teenager and I couldn't sleep and I didn't have a phone to scroll on TikTok until I fell asleep. I Marcella and I did ASL for 7 years, and so I would do the alphabet in ASL. I would do numbers 1 to 100 in ASL, and then I would just go over vocabulary words in ASL until I fell asleep. And I don't know why, but that helped a lot. And sometimes I
Hmm.
still do the alphabet. Anyway, so those are my 10. Out of all of them, I do think the most practical one that I really appreciated was where'd it go? Oh, the uses for an old sheet. The one that I think is absolutely insane is the sandpaper one. Um,
I, I
I
saw
love
a
it.
few more crazy ones actually.
Wow, I'm very excited. Okay,
Okay,
get
so
into
I'll
it.
go through the ones that I liked. I'll go through the ones that I liked first.
Okay,
A few of them I couldn't like copy and paste over to our notes, so I like took screenshots of them instead.
that's
Okay,
fine.
so the first one was that I thought was cool, which this is probably not news to people who garden. To plant seeds, take eggshells broken in half, fill with dirt, put one seed in each, and place all in box of dirt until large enough to transplant. Remove plant with shell to its permanent location, crushing the shell without disturbing the earth about plant. As you do so, and your plant will not suffer by the removal.
Hmm,
I thought that was cool. A cheap
very cool.
way, without having to buy those seed starting trays
Mm,
and stuff. Just use eggshells.
I love it.
And I think eggshells are also really good for the soil too,
Yes.
because of the calcium and stuff. Okay, another one is fine salt. So, oh yeah, like you were saying, all these are broken up into like little sections. They're like little paragraphs. And they
Mm-hmm.
have like a little heading, and then she describes what it's about. A little fine salt rubbed upon stained china will remove spots and lines made by tea and other liquids. And I can think of some mugs that I have. I wonder if it would work for like ceramic,
Ceramic. Yeah,
because
I do
China's
too. I have like
a
coffee
little
stain
different.
mugs.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to test it out. I thought this was really interesting. To keep a meal hot for a latecomer, which I actually deal with quite often because my husband is usually late coming home on the days that he works. Take a soup plate and almost fill it with hot water, then place the dinner plate with its contents on top of the hot soup plate and cover closely with still another plate.
Hmm.
So you like make a little I don't know, what do you call those things? Almost like the buffet trays, the ones that
Yeah,
they like have the hot water on the bottom and then
yeah.
the lids on top. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Okay, now I can go over to my notes. Let's see. Okay, another one. When putting up curtains in a low room, put the cornice to which the curtain is to be fastened close to the ceiling, which I think the cornice is like the curtain rod. The
Mhm.
curtains meeting at top will conceal the wall and it gives the effect of greater height to the ceiling. Now, I can actually attest that this does work because I'm like sitting in our bedroom right now. We put our curtains much higher up from where the top of our windowsill is, and it does actually give the illusion that our ceilings are higher than they actually are. So the higher up that you can put your curtains and away from the top of your windowsill, the better. Um, Another one, a dust cloth in your apron so as to be ready to remove any dust that may be seen in going about the house in the morning. This saves time and makes less work as often the piano or table looks dusty when the rest of the room is in good order. It's like a handy little thing to have on you. Because we all know we run across horizontal surfaces that have been collecting dust.
Yeah, you know what? I
Um,
don't put anything in my apron pockets because if I put my phone in there, it's like too heavy.
mm,
Our phones are now like giant for some reason. So I usually put
yeah.
my phone on the counter or in my back pocket, but now I'm thinking I should just put a little rag in there. That's a
Yeah,
great
you should.
idea.
A little microfiber rag.
Yeah.
Okay, another one. A paper bag for flowers will keep them fresh until you reach home. So before taking a short trip to the woods, provide yourself with one. Put the flowers in this and fold the top over 2 or 3 times, thus excluding light and air. If the flowers have grown in moist places, sprinkle them before closing the bag. I thought that was cute because she just kind of like assumes that you're going to be taking short trips into the woods, occasionally. Why wouldn't you? To pick some wildflowers.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is on a well-made bed. It matters not how handsome the appointments of the room, how soft and luxurious the carpet, how fine and white the linen. If the bed is poorly and loosely made, it gives the whole apartment an untidy look that no amount of elegance can atone for. Ooh.
Ooh.
In good bed making, one of the first requisites is a perfect adaptation of mattress and springs to the bedstead. And next, a well made mattress, whether it be of hair, wool, moss, or excelsior. And over this, a puff or a mattress cover made of thin, unbleached cotton cloth that can be bought for a few cents a yard. Wow, I wish. Containing large rolls of cotton tied with tidy cotton, having the I think this was puffs on the original document. Having the puffs large enough to tuck under the sides of the mattress to avoid curling under the sheet. That is a very extensive description of how you should have a well-made bed. I'm not sure how that translates over to our like modern bed dressing. um, but I think the first part is pretty universal. If the bed is poorly and loosely made, it gives the whole apartment an untidy look.
That's why
Um,
I think the Fly Lady, one of her very first baby steps is to make your bed
it's making her
because
bed. Yeah.
if you and it's like simple things of like shine your sink, make your bed. It's like those things are so quick, but we put them off because it feels like this giant task. But it really only takes minutes. And if it takes you so long to make your bed, maybe you should like reevaluate how many pillows you have on your bed. Like, are we
Right, yeah,
doing
yeah,
too
yeah.
much on our bed to where it's like a chore to make our bed?
Yeah. Are there too many obstacles for
Yes.
having a well-made bed?
That-
Um, okay, the next one. A crust of bread put into the water in which greens are boiled will absorb all objectionable rankness of flavor. That would be an interesting one to experiment with. I don't think I've ever heard anything like that. Okay, next one.
Also,
I feel like
what's objectionable?
objection, like I don't know, off-putting, I would think.
Well, but like what? Like if you're boiling greens, it's like you get what you get. Like, are you gonna change the flavor magically?
Maybe it makes them less bitter,
Mm. Okay, somebody do this.
you know?
Report back to us.
Yeah. Okay, the next one I feel like is actually pretty interesting. And maybe some of us already do something like this. Any disagreeable odor in the room in which a sick person is kept may be obviated by putting a few drops of oil of lavender in a cup of hot water. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Bless me. Wow. I don't know if you heard that. I just sneezed so loud.
I heard like a very faint sneeze.
Okay. The steam which arises from the cup will be refreshing and fragrant. It's a pretty good idea.
Wow, this is like the
Um,
OG oil diffuser.
yeah, literally. Oh wait, should be, what was this for? Where is the title for this? What should be dipped in boiling water? Oh, wooden utensils. That's what it was. This is Jeopardy now, guys. Please guess. Okay. Wooden wooden utensils should be dipped in boiling water before using. This will prevent discoloration and absorbing of flavors. I have had a few mishaps with my wooden utensils. I've had to throw away a couple of spoons and spatulas over the years because they yeah, they essentially absorbed the flavor and the
Mm,
smell, and even after trying to disinfect and boil, they would still no. There were a couple that were so bad I just had to toss. So, um that's a good idea. Okay.
yes.
There were a few really crazy ones. I um I pasted this one onto our notes, but I'm remembering some of them now as we're going through that I can't
I
find them
just
now.
read it and I'm literally appalled.
Isn't that insane? Okay, listen, you guys, listen. She suggests to take cornmeal, saturate it thoroughly with gasoline, and sprinkle quite heavily over the carpet and scrub with a broom. It will remove all dirt and dust, making the carpet look like new. Care, however, must be taken as to lighting matches, and windows should be open to air the rooms.
Yeah, so as not to kill the whole family, burn the house down.
Okay, there were a couple more that I remembered. One of them was that she suggested using arsenic powder for
Arsenic, that's what it was.
arsenic powder for something.
Yes,
I don't even
it's
remember what
actually
it was
multiple
for.
things, Marcella. That was the other cleaning agent where I was like, "You're using arsenic?
Yeah,
Arsenic."
sprinkle a little bit here and it'll help. Whatever. And then there was another one that I saw that said multiple uses for cigar ashes. And I was like, oh, I gotta see this. And she suggested the first thing was to use them as a tooth powder. Cigar ashes for a tooth powder.
You're joking.
I'm not joking.
How
And
did I
then
miss that?
there were a couple of other ones. I can't remember the second one, but then the last suggestion was to use cigar ashes and sprinkle them on the roots of your plants because it helps them grow, which I don't know why or how that would work. That's not as crazy as the tooth powder thing, though.
Yeah, yeah. So, Marcella, after Jed has his Lord's Day smoke outside, tell him to collect the ashes.
That is crazy. It's literally
Yeah,
insane.
I
Yeah,
don't
those were
know.
the few that I was like, "Whoa, all right."
I feel like you found crazier ones than me. Like I was
I
and
just came across them.
I
I wasn't
spent
even
like
looking for them.
an hour and a half like sifting through them and being like, "Oh yeah, these are nuts." And then you're like, "Oh, let's just use cigar ashes for toothpaste and let's just throw gasoline on our carpets."
But take care not to light any matches so as to blow up the whole house.
Yeah, this explains so much of like the mortality rate.
Yeah,
And then
honestly, it's pretty
and then also
wild.
like thinking about like I don't know, like thinking about now like how we're, if you're like crunchy or you're like natural minded, you're like, oh, I can't believe 5 years ago I was cleaning with Clorox, and I'm like, oh, Tilly was throwing gasoline on her carpets.
An arsenic powder.
An
And who
arsenic
knows what.
powder. I feel like we've made a lot of developments, I also, oh, there it is. When you were telling me about the tooth powder, I laughed so hard I like banged my chair onto the bookshelf behind me, and my Harry Potter wand in the face.
I didn't even see that happen.
I'm not sure if it made it on the YouTube because I was laughing, so maybe, or so I'm gonna have to watch back and see if I get. And I have Luna Lovegood's wand. It's not Harry Potter's, but it's definitely a wand, and it literally, because it's on the top shelf where my Harry Potter Minomania books are. And it's like this whole Harry Potter thing on the top shelf, and it literally came down and hit me.
Right.
Anyway,
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
so now I'm going to put this next to me. Hopefully, we don't lose any listeners
That's all I had.
now that I'm waving a wand around. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing, Marcel. You definitely found some that okay. So out of all this, I do think something that I want to try. Something that I want to try. Let's see. Which one? Oh, the rag in my apron. Why am I not doing that? I wear an apron like a lot, like throughout the day when I'm like cooking, baking,
Yeah.
running upstairs, switching laundry. And I do come across things where I'm like, oh, I gotta clean that. I gotta remember to clean that. But if I have a rag in my apron, then I can just quickly do it and then it's like done. I don't know. That's something that I am going to definitely add to my homemaking routine. Any of these do you think you really want to try that you aren't already doing?
Let me see here.
The milk one?
Yes, I might try that milk one. Very interesting. Let's see. I don't know. I don't boil a lot of greens. I don't have much use for the bread crust trick.
Somebody's gonna have to report back to us because I don't boil any
I definitely
greens.
want to. I definitely want to try the leftovers, like having the hot water in the bowl, putting the plate over it, putting a cover over it, because obviously that would be more ideal than like putting it in the microwave to heat it back up.
I completely agree. I think I'm getting pretty close
and we do have
to. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say we do have like a warming function on our oven. But even then, sometimes I feel like with things that I really don't want to be cooked too much, like steak, like if I want it to be like at that perfect temperature and I like don't want it to be well done, I even feel like the warming setting on our oven is still a bit too hot. So I feel like this is a good alternative. I'm gonna have to test it out.
Yeah. I really like that idea too. And I think that also if you put it in the oven's really drying. And I also have a warming function in my toaster oven, air fryer, dehydrator. And sometimes it does dry out things that I'm trying to keep warm. And so I'm thinking if you're doing this plate method, it will keep things moist because of the cover. It'll probably create some sort of steam and it'll keep the food from going dry, especially like meat. I don't know. I really would like to know. So if any of you would like to try any of these homemaking hacks from Otillie, from 1910. We would love to hear from you guys if you guys end up doing it, or if you look through the book yourself and you have any favorites that we missed out on. But we do recommend not using arsenic or gasoline for your homemaking. So
Yes,
please use discretion.
please don't.
But, Otillie really gave us a good episode today and some great ideas. And we're going to put all these in our back pocket. And definitely, I'm sorry to any of you guys that thought I was going to give a miracle hack to get rid of a double chin, but I don't think that it's going to be effective. I mean, you're welcome to try, but I'm just saying I've done it. And it doesn't, it's just part of life, just a part of life. Anyway, guys,
So funny.
we hope that you guys enjoyed today's episode, and please let us know in the comments what you guys thought, and we will talk to you guys next week as we talk about more homemaking inspiration, this time from a piece of literature. So we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.